Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to be reviewing Howling Dark, Book 2 in the Suneater series by American author Christopher Ruocchio, which, as you know, or should know, or maybe are not aware of, I'm doing a read-along with Ian from B&B Books and a couple of other people, and typically what I do is I post my review of the book before we have the live discussion. Now this time, I am recording this before the live discussion, but I'm going to post it after, because I don't want to influence the live conversation. I want it to be a bit more organic. I really want to go into it with Ian not knowing anything about what I think about the book, and me not knowing anything that he thinks about the book. But anyway, let's get on with the review. So, this is the book where people say the story takes off after the first book did the setup and laid the groundwork for the story. Not quite for me. So this gave me uncomfortable Wheel of Time vibes, where there's a lot of characters talking and not a lot of action, and then we finish with a great confrontation set piece at the end. Now, I'm not saying it's Wheel of Time bad, it just had a whiff of it, a little bit. So the action takes place some years after the events of the first book, where we left our protagonist sort of going off away to explore the universe. And now when we find him, he sort of commands a little fleet of kind of mercenary spaceships that are sort of traveling the universe and fighting the seals, right? So there's a hole in the story that is not filled there, but that's okay. That it's sort of reference, and we're here, and now things are going to happen, and that's great. But turns out that all the kind of hinted at love interest with the Doctor in book 1 seems like it didn't matter, because now we have a girlfriend, we have a love interest, we have a girlfriend. All of a sudden, a girlfriend has appeared out of nowhere. But don't worry, because by page 120, that's gone. So really, totally uninterested. Also, one of his sort of mates from his merry band of space mercenaries gets killed, but we don't care. And I think I mentioned this in the review of the first book, but I'm going to stress it again here. The secondary characters and the personal relationships between the characters in these books, I don't think are very well done. It doesn't seem to be Ruocchio's strong point. Really isn't. I really do not care at all about any of the secondary characters, and possibly not even care very much about our main protagonist, whose name, if you've realized, I've forgotten already, because I'm not naming him by name. Should I check? I don't know, can't be bothered. Anyway, so really it's a plot of a character book, and that's a little bit, the story is interesting, so I want to see where it goes, but it's taking a little bit too long. The world building is interesting. I'm not a big sci-fi reader. I don't know much about it, but there were a couple of things that bothered me that I think right. So the problem with a secondary fantasy world, or the advantage of it, is that because you've created that world, you make your rules, right? Whatever you say happens, and we don't have to question you about it, because it's your world, you've built it, right? However, if you are in a kind of plausible future universe, you cannot break the laws of physics because it's our world. We know more or less how they work. So at one point, again, main protagonist, I don't know his name, he flies to visit some kind of oracle person who can tell him something because he's in touch with the Cielcin, so he's trying to broker a peace deal, a peace agreement, so this person can be the sort of the intermediary, right? So he travels to that planet eventually. He needs to do some sort of side quest before he can go there, but anyway. So it takes years, right? And we are told in the books they have to be sort of put in some sort of cryo state, frozen, because it takes 20 years, whatever, to travel to another planet. Fine, that sort of makes sense. We've seen enough sci-fi movies to know that. Alien, right, and all that stuff. Anyway, so he gets there, and this oracle person is a bit peculiar, and he only sees people whenever he feels like, so people are there waiting to speak to this oracle for maybe weeks or months. And our main protagonist goes, "Oh, I haven't got time to wait around." Mate, it took you 5 years to get there. The fact that you're going to wait 2 weeks, it's irrelevant. And that's such a minor plot point. But to me, it doesn't make sense. Kind of time and distance are a bit of an issue when you're traveling across, literally, I think they mentioned millions of planets, right? Star Wars, so my only sort of point of reference here, you just don't talk about it. Yeah, we just travel at speed of light and we just get to places very quickly, and that's it. But if you're going to stick to the laws of space travel, and it's going to take you 5 years or 10 years or 12 years to get somewhere, you cannot be too pressed for time all of a sudden and not afford to wait a couple of weeks. Which again brings me to my next point. The whole civilized human world thing is sort of run in some kind of medieval style empire where there's an emperor that rules over everyone, which worked in Star Wars because travel was quick. But here, how can an emperor rule over? It doesn't make sense for there to be an emperor with absolute power over millions of planets. It does not make any sense, because by the time one planet decides to break away and become independent, some sort of civil war type thing, by the time you get there, it's going to be hundreds of years. Nothing makes sense. Maybe. For me. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but maybe not. There's something that doesn't make sense in the world building. And just avoid these issues by we got on the spaceship, start, next paragraph, we're there. Don't address the issue, because if you kind of hint at these issues, then you've got to address them full on. Otherwise, I think, to me, in my opinion, the world building is a little bit inconsistent. Again, the book ends on a big sort of set piece, it was great. At one point, I think the book was dragging a little bit for me, then it picked up at the end, and that's what I said, it's kind of giving me Wheel of Time vibes. If the next one is going to do the same, I might consider, I wouldn't say giving up the series or DNFing, but maybe giving it a bit of a break. Also because our secondary characters, our support crew, so they are left off page for the whole book. We pretty much following main guy. It's all told in first person perspective, but the rest of the characters, they don't have anything to say or anything to do. There is some sort of betrayal, kind of, by one of his closest associates. I don't care. I don't care that he abandons him for betraying him allegedly, or thinking that because we haven't spent enough time with these characters really, so everything falls a little bit flat in that regard. And I'm going to say one more time, it's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to repeat myself again. It's a plot of a character sort of book, and therefore I don't think they need to be that long. There's a few more things I would like to mention about kind of the fantasy elements of it and the more sort of the Force and AI elements of it, but probably we'll leave that for the live discussion. I'll leave a link in the description below, because by the time I upload this, we will already have had the chat. But anyway, this is my thoughts, my opinions on Howling Dark by Christopher Ruocchio. I've already got there Demon in White, which is the third book, which we'll be picking up in May, and we'll see what happens then. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please, as usual, like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Take lots and lots of care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.